an absolute honor to invite His Excellency Dr. Reza Baqir, Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, on stage to deliver his keynote speech. Dr. Reza Baqir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable President of Pakistan, Chairman Global Islamic Finance Awards, and Dr. Shamshad Akhtar, my predecessor at the State Bank of Pakistan, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum. आज मुझे बताया गया है कि इस तकरीब को एक्सटर्नल ऑडियंसेस के लिए भी टेलीकास्ट किया जाएगा और इसको रिकॉर्ड भी किया जाएगा, इसलिए मुझे कहा गया है कि आज की जो रिमार्क्स हैं इनको अंग्रेज़ी में अदा करें. So I'll switch to English. It's a great pleasure to be here today and to join at this awards ceremony. And I think, first of all, the fact that the President himself is here today signifies the importance that the country as a whole places to promoting Islamic finance in the country. In my remarks today, I'll be brief and I want to focus on three things. First and foremost, I want to tell the audience about what is the governance framework for Sharia in Pakistan and one that the State Bank has put together. Second, I want to talk a little bit about what are the facts that have come to light based upon people's knowledge of Islamic finance and Sharia, and there'll be some interesting areas that you may not be aware of. And third, I want to talk about what are some of the opportunities and challenges in using Islamic finance in particular to make the financial system of Pakistan accessible to the underserved areas and the underserved segments of Pakistan, and particularly towards areas such as SME and agriculture. So let me begin first by talking to you a little bit about what is the Sharia governance and compliance framework that the State Bank of Pakistan has put together. And it consists of several elements. And first and foremost is the Sharia Advisory Committee at the State Bank of Pakistan. And this is a committee which I'll point out, one of its key features is that it has representation of three schools of Sharia thought, not just one, as typically happens in many other countries, but three Sharia schools. And this, we believe, is something that promotes inclusion and is something that was started recently, 2018 onwards. Previously, there was only one school of thought represented in this committee. The second element is the existence of boards, Sharia boards, comprising of at least 3 members in each bank. The role of these boards in each bank is to approve specific bank products and ensure that they are compliant with Sharia principles. The third element of the Sharia governance framework at the State Bank is the mandatory internal Sharia audit that each bank has to undertake. Fourth, there are Sharia inspections by the central bank, by our banking inspections department. And fifth is the external Sharia audit. So in a nutshell, I wanted to explain to all the audience, these are the 5 main elements of how the State Bank of Pakistan ensures compliance with Sharia principles in Islamic finance in Pakistan. Some of the recent measures that were taken as part of this framework, and particularly by the Sharia Committee at the State Bank, include when the country was struck by COVID and the State Bank stepped forward to play its part in providing relief and support to the business and financial community. Concurrent with the relief packages that were announced for conventional banking, the Sharia Committee at the State Bank met very frequently, very rapidly, to also bring out concurrently the Sharia-compliant versions of the relief packages as well. Similarly, we have had Sharia-compliant refinance facilities of the State Bank that have been issued, Sharia compliant open market operations to meet liquidity needs of Islamic banking industry, and adoption of about 10 IOFI Sharia standards. I'm also happy to share that with the work of this Sharia committee, the State Bank is very close to completing one important outstanding piece of work that needs to be done, which is to have a lender of last resort facility for Islamic banking institutions, as well as a Sharia compliant standing facility with the floor and ceiling. Inshallah, these two measures, which are in quite advanced stage, will be completed soon. I want to next talk about awareness of Islamic finance. And in fact, I want to give credit to a study done by GIFA a few years ago, which looked at the knowledge, attitude, and practices of Islamic banking in Pakistan. And it surveyed, if I'm not mistaken, about 10,000 individuals and businesses to find out about what they know about Islamic finance. And there are two very interesting findings of this study that I would want the audience to know. And it's interesting that both of these findings come about together. The first is that most of the respondents said that they want Islamic finance, and if they had more opportunities for Islamic finance, they would participate more in the financial system. At the same time, most of the participants, respondents, did not know how Islamic banking differs from conventional banking. Okay? So they want Islamic finance, but they also are not very sure how does it actually differ from conventional banking when you get into the specifics. What this points to is an acute need for greater awareness about Islamic finance and what it means, and its availability to people. And to this effect, the State Bank has been playing its role for greater awareness, greater advocacy, and greater outreach of Islamic finance. So what are some of the things that have been done by the State Bank to this effect? First, we have made it mandatory for Islamic banking institutions to develop their policy framework for capacity building of their own staff, because if banks' own staff are not very well versed in Islamic finance principles, they themselves will not be able to promote it. Second, we have a training institute at the State Bank called NEBAF, and through that training institute, we have been assisting and providing support to other stakeholders to promote the awareness of Islamic finance. We also offer, through NEBAF, our training center, customized programs to both local and international participants, such as from our neighboring countries, Afghanistan and the Central Asian states. We are also undertaking programs for stakeholders other than Islamic banking industry, like focal persons at the ministries, FBR officials, judicial officials, and Sharia scholars. In addition, some of the things that the State Bank has done has been creation of centers of excellence in Islamic finance education at 3 renowned institutions. These include IBA Karachi, LUMS in Lahore, and IM Sciences Peshawar. And these have been established with the support of DFID, and the State Bank is working actively so that these centers of excellence have a rich agenda to promote awareness of Islamic finance. So this was the second point that I had wanted to talk about the importance of promoting awareness of Islamic finance. The third, and perhaps the most important area, and also a challenge for us, is about the opportunities and challenges for using Islamic finance to serve those segments of our society and those areas of our country that are underserved. And there are some remarkable statistics that I want to share with you that point to the huge unfinished agenda in front of us. If you look at overall SME financing in the country, only 13% of that is provided by Islamic banking institutions. And it shows that clearly there is a role to grow in that. If you look at total agricultural financing in the country, only 6% of that is served by Islamic banking institutions. So clearly, there is a great opportunity in front of us to promote the use of Islamic finance, especially knowing the results from the study done by GIFA that there is a huge demand for Islamic finance. There is a great need to see how we can partner with the industry towards promoting it. Now, at the same time, while there are these big challenges in front of us in SME and in agriculture, there are two areas also which offer some ray of hope. And the first is an initiative that was recently undertaken by several institutions in Pakistan, including the State Bank of Pakistan, the SECP, which is the Movable Collateral Registry. Since the creation of this registry, since it is going to allow there to be a registry of movable assets, which is a very important part for promoting SME finance, this should facilitate the promotion of Islamic finance in the SME sector as well, because it will be easy to identify underlying assets for offering Sharia-compliant facilities. But the most important, I think, a glimmer of hope that we have in front of us is in the area of housing finance, an area that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has been emphasizing in the recent weeks and months as an area which not only holds the promise of supporting growth and development in Pakistan, but an area also that is critical in providing employment and income and livelihood to the informal sector of the country, because a lot of the employment in the informal sector takes place through day laborers, and promotion of housing and construction is one area that will not only raise the growth of Pakistan, but also go a long way towards making that growth more equitable and more shared. The reason Islamic finance has a very natural synergy there is that 60% of our mortgages are Islamic. Okay? So while in SME and agriculture, the share of Islamic is very small, in mortgages, it is the majority share. And given the emphasis at the highest level in the country on promotion of housing and construction, there is a very big opportunity in front of the Islamic banking institutions to embrace this and use this opportunity, one which is being supported by the State Bank as well, to further promote Islamic finance, particularly in the areas of mortgages. I want to end by talking about something that I find is not talked about often, which is at a global level. I want to transition slightly from talking about Pakistan to developments at an international level. And I want to make a simple point. At the global level, the only way we can get further take-up in Islamic finance is to address the issue of a proliferation of national level standards of Islamic finance. Let me give you an example. In conventional banking, there is one institution, Basel, which everybody adheres to in terms of standards. No matter which country you are, Basel is there. It's very clear how different liquidity ratios or other ratios and so forth are to be constructed and compliant with. In the area of Islamic finance, this is more difficult and more challenging. For instance, some of the areas in which Malaysia has made a lot of progress cannot just readily be taken and applied in Pakistan, because the interpretation of Sharia scholars here may not be the same as those in Malaysia. The point is simple, that to promote Islamic finance further at a global level, there is a need also at a global level to have a well-established and more recognized and more adopted set of standards for all countries that wish to participate in Islamic finance. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you today. It is a great honor, and at the very end, I want to emphasize the commitment that the State Bank of Pakistan has to promote Islamic finance in Pakistan and take it to levels that have not been seen before. Thank you.